All right. What's going on, everybody? May peace and power elevation be to all of you. This is your girl Tiffany coming through live in effect. So we're gonna talk about what's going on with Nick Cannon. So Nick Cannon, so Nick Cannon just been dropped by Viacom because he was accused of making anti-Semitic statements. And one of those statements that he made was it's not so well, he done made several statements that's not so true, but this one is not really true. Okay. So I don't know who he learned it from. I don't know what information he's been looking at, but we're gonna go ahead and check out the article first, and then we're gonna talk about this. So the article comes from Variety.com. Nick Cannon dropped by Viacom CBS after making anti-Semitic comments. All right, so Viacom CBS is ending its long-running relationship with Nick Cannon after he made anti-Semitic comments on his podcast. In the June 30th episode of Cannon's Class, the After TV host interviewed Professor Griff, a rapper who was part of Public Enemy, before leaving the group after making anti-Semitic remarks. Oh, we get somewhere. On the podcast, Cannon said black people are the true Hebrews and talked about anti-Semitic conspiracy theory involving the Rothschild family. It's never hate speech. You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people. Cannon said, we are the same people who they want to be. That's our birthright. We are the true Hebrews. Okay. And then it goes on to say that a Viacom CBS spokesperson released a statement to Variety saying that the company's relationship with Cannon is now terminated. Okay, so let's address something real quick. All right, let's talk about something real quick. So Nick Cannon goes on his podcast with Professor Griff and saying that he's talking about the Rothschild, the conspiracy theory concept. That's for one. Then he goes in about black people are the true Hebrews and that's our birthright. See, this is the part right here. This is why you got to stop listening to a bunch of rhetoric from the conscious community. You can't just listen to the conscious community. Hold on, you guys. Brother, did you hit the notification bell? You got to hit the notification bell on here. Yeah, make sure you hit the notification bell when I come on. So anybody that's on YouTube, if you're watching, please make sure you hit the notification bell. If you're and also subscribe to the channel. If you are watching from Facebook, make sure you share this page, okay, the video. But let's get back to the topic. There's a lot of things that's wrong with Nick Cannon's statement. Like, I understand that he's been very proactive lately and been focusing on the Black community. I understand, but there's a lot of misinformation that he's been receiving regarding to Black people. We're not the true Hebrew Israelites, okay? Let's be straight up. We're not the true Hebrew Israelites. All right? Our ancestors did not come from the land of Israel and were brought here as slaves in America. They did not come from the Middle East and brought here as slaves in this country. That's a fact. Okay? That's a fact. Our ancestors were not brought here from the Middle East. They weren't brought here as Hebrews. They were brought here as African descended people. And it's no disrespect, no shade to my Hebrew brothers and sisters out there. For those of you that know your history about African history, you know that your ancestor came from the western and central part of Africa and was brought here to America. That's a fact. All this other stuff, those are what you call racial religious terms. Okay? So I don't know who he's been looking at. I don't know if he's been watching the YouTube channel. But my thing is, this man got all this money. You mean tell me you can't go and study some history? And I hope that he ain't been listening to Tariq Nasheed. I hope that's not who he been listening to. People, you got to, this is why it's important that we got to start doing our research. You got to study your history, okay? You must do that. Or otherwise, you're going to walk around here saying some shit like Nick Cannon. Now, them folks, they closed the doors on him. And I can guarantee you that the people that run Viacom, they are Jewish. I can guarantee you that. And they were probably offended. Now, again, I'm not trying to come down hard on the Hebrews, but there's a lot of information that is wrong. And let me tell you from my personal experience, I used to be in the Hebrew Israelite culture. For about 2 years. Okay? I was in it for 2 years. And I ended up had to go because there was a lot of questions that could not be answered. And I stuck to my belief that we are African Americans or African descended people at that. And I meant that. And I wasn't going to change that. Unless you can show me a genetic bloodline that traces back to Israel and to the Middle East, showing that we are the Hebrew. Peace, everybody that's on this chat, on this channel. If you can go back and show me some bloodline that say you are a Hebrew, your ancestors were Hebrew or your ancestors were Jews, then I could listen. But guess what? I'm going to show y'all something, okay? Because I never done this before. I'm going to show you my genetics. All right? Let me show you my genetics, my DNA. And let me tell you what my DNA say about me. It doesn't say nowhere about me being no damn Israelite. Let me show you what my genetics say. All right, so I'm gonna show you something. Oh goodness. All right, so I'm gonna show you my information. Okay, and this is coming from 23andMe. This comes from 23andMe, and I'm gonna show you what my bloodline say about me, just to show you that I ain't gotta make up no shit. If it will, hold on, I'm waiting for it to pop up. Okay, here we go. All right, give me one moment, you guys. I'm trying to pull up the report. Okay, so let me show y'all this. Okay, this is my report right here. All right, this is from 23andMe. Okay, and let me show you what 23andMe has to say. So I'm gonna show the screen a little bigger. All right, so according to 23andMe, my genetic bloodline is 90.3%. All right. So it's mostly composed of West African genetics, which is 76.3%. Congolese and Southern East African, 11.0%. And of course, I got some European traits, which is 8.3%. And it said trace ancestry. That means, my ancestors, where they travel to and things like that, yada, yada. And some of it is unsigned, which means that it's unknown. They weren't able to trace all the information. So it says 0.6%. And then just recently it showed that I have some Caribbean in me. All right. So it says here, St. Andrews Parish, Jamaica. So that's my information. All right. Nowhere does it state that I have any form of Hebrew Israelite in me. Nowhere does it state that I have any form of Jewish ancestry. I don't see no Jewish ancestry on here. So I don't know what type of bloodline Nick Cannon talking about, because I don't see that. And hold on, let me show you my mitochondria. Give me a moment. Let me show you my mitochondria. All right, so this is my haplogroup, okay? This is my haplogroup. All right, it says that maternal haplogroup, you descend from a long line of women that can be traced back to East Africa over 150,000 years ago. These are the women of your maternal line, and your maternal haplogroup sheds light on their history. Okay, so this is my maternal haplogroup right here, L3D 15. All right, and what does it say? As our ancestor virtue out of Eastern Africa, they branch off in diverse groups that cross and recross the globe over tens of thousands of years. Now, y'all see this information right here? What does this information say right here? If every person living today could trace his or her maternal line back over thousands of generations, all of our lines would meet at a single woman who lived in Eastern Africa between 150,000 and 200,000 years ago. Though she was one of perhaps thousands of women alive at the time, only the diverse branches of her haplogroup have survived to today. The story of your maternal line begins with her. You see that? And what does it say? Your branch of L is haplogroup L3, which arose from a woman who likely lived in Eastern Africa between 60,000 and 70,000 years ago. While many of her descendants remained in Africa, one small group ventured east across the Red Sea, likely across the narrow Bab el Mandeb into the tip of Arabian Peninsula. Now, what does this say? Origin and migration of haplogroup L3D. Your maternal line stems from haplogroup L3D, a branch of L3 that arose in Western Africa about 26,000 years ago. All right. Like many haplogroups found in that part of Africa, is spread widely with the migration of Bantu-speaking people that began approximately 4,000 years ago. All right. So, and it says that the L3D is now found at a high levels among the Bantu-speaking Sukuma, Tanzania, and is quite common in Mozambique, and due to the importance of Western Africa and the Atlantic. Wait a minute, hold on. What it says? Let's read that last part right there. Due to the importance of Western Africa in the Atlantic slave trade, it is also found among African Americans. So what does that mean? That means that more than likely, if you're a black person here in America, you carry on a L3D bloodline, more than likely. Okay. Now, I just showed you mine. So if your ancestors were slaves, right, and you're black, more than likely, they're going to come from Central West Africa. More than likely. More than likely, they're going to carry a haplogroup of the L3. We're talking about maternal lineage, okay? They're going to carry that haplogroup of L3 more than likely. So the point that I'm making is the information that Nick kicking off, that's pseudo. That is pseudo, okay? And my information just proved to you that it was pseudo. All right. So anybody that try to come to me and make the argument that, oh, you are the true Hebrew Israelite. No. Go show me some genetics. Go show me some scientific evidence. If you can't show me no scientific evidence, then you're speaking from a religious standpoint. That's what you're speaking from. You're using religious argument. If you can't show no DNA bloodline that exactly say that this is what you are, I'm not trying to hear it. I can show you something else. Okay? Another DNA test I took, Ancestry. Okay? Hold on. I forgot my password. But other than that, yeah, let's see why I'm looking for my hold on, give me a second, you guys. Okay. Okay, well, I'll look for it later. Yeah, I'll look it up later. But anyways, so I took a test from Ancestry, and what did I get? A similar result. A similar result. Righty. Hold on. hold on, Jesus. Okay, bump that. So it's not showing up. Bump that. Okay, anyways, I'll deal with that later because I have forgot the password. But anyhow, back to what I was saying. Yes. So archives and information shows improve things. This is why we're constantly set back as a people, because we're listening to so many pseudo ideology and we don't question them. We don't even challenge them. The name of the company that I took the DNA test with is 23andMe. And then I took the one with Ancestry.com. So you guys, if you want to know your DNA result, go to 23andMe and go to Ancestry. You know what I'm saying? Those are cheaper, or you can go to African Ancestry website. You know what I'm saying? So you'll find out for yourself, because your DNA is not going to lie to you. Your DNA is not going to tell any lies. Your DNA is nothing more than a track record. It keeps up the information of what's going on as far as the activity inside your genetics. That's all it is. So what I want to do is I'm going to show some sources to combat Nick Cannon's argument. All right? It's not hard to do. As a matter of fact, I'm finna do that right now as we speak. So let's look up the transatlantic slave trade, okay? Let's look it up. All right, we finna look this up together. Okay. So now I'm on the website. I'm on blackdemographics.com, right? So let me show you what they're talking about here. Okay, and it says, how African is Black America? Check this out. I hope you guys can see this. Average ancestry of the African American population. Check it out. 74% sub-Saharan African, 22% European, 1% Native American, and 2% other. So more than likely, right, you have a higher percentage of African bloodline, okay, and European bloodline than anything else, unless you are biracial or you have other multicultural. But outside of that, majority of African Americans have sub-Saharan African bloodline, right? That's their lineage is a high number, and they have more European. Why? Because if you go back into history, let's look it up. Let's read on. The Black/African American population is one of the most unique groups in the United States. Almost all descendants of American slaves are mixed with some European and Native American blood. Okay? And then it goes on about Henry Louis Gates Jr. Published an article for consulting 5 geological DNA testing research companies answering the question, how much African ancestry does the average African American have? The results are as follows. This is Ancestry.com. Okay, Sub-Saharan 65%, European 29%, Native American 2%, others 4%. Now, this is for my people that go around here saying they're Native Americans, right? When you know damn good well you ain't got a high concentration of Native American blood. You probably got that much percentage. That's 2% and maybe 0.6%. But you ain't got that much Native American blood unless somebody in your family is full-blooded Native American, right? Like your mother, your father, or your grandparents, for example. If they got that, then you probably got maybe you could probably have like 40% or maybe 30% if one of them was Native American. But outside of that, for the most part, you got predominantly African bloodline, right? And you would have more European. But because we've been taught that our great-great-grandparents were Native Americans or Native American mix, right? We come to find out later on that's not really the case for many of us. But let's continue on. 23andMe, 75% Sub-Saharan African, 22% European, and 0.6% and 3% other. Let's see. Family Tree DNA.com, 73%, 23%, 2%, 23% European, 73% African, 2% Native American, 2% other. National Geographic Genographic Project, 80% African, Sub-Saharan, 19% European, 1% Native American, 0% others. African DNA, 79% Sub-Saharan, 2% European. Let's see, 1% Native American, and 2% others. So what does that mean? This is what they have concluded so far. These are the DNA test companies. So when they looking at Black people and when they have Black consumer taking their tests, this is the highest number they get is mostly Sub-Saharan African. And it also say he also discovered a whooping 35% of all African American men descend from a white male ancestor who fathered a mulatto child sometime in the slavery era, most properly from rape or coherent sexuality. So most of the time, right, during slavery, the child is conceived out of rape or out of sexual relationship between a Caucasian person and an African person. Okay, so it says that 35% of all African American men descend from a white male ancestors. Now check this out right here. What it say? It says that African Americans in the Deep South tend to have a higher percentage of African ancestry than other states, with South Carolina having the highest at 83%. This should not be surprising due to the fact that more than half of all African captives landed in Charleston, South Carolina. Also, because of many plantations in the Deep South, slave population often outnumbered free white population. Therefore, a lower percentage of Black women would have been victim to rape, or at least less frequent. All right. See, check this out, Alabama. And this is the interactive map percentage of Sub-Saharan African ancestry of those who identify as African American by state. Now you will see right here it says Mississippi at 80%, Arkansas 80%, Texas 78%, Louisiana 75%, Alabama 81%, Georgia 81%, Florida 81%. Let's see, South Carolina 83%, North Carolina 74%, Tennessee 77%, Kentucky 69%, Virginia 74%, Maryland 72%, West Virginia 64%, Illinois 74%, Ohio 73%, Pennsylvania 72%, New York 75%, Connecticut 77%, Michigan 75%. Do you see that? The numbers get higher. All right. So okay. All right. So the point that I'm making is the point that I'm trying to get at is all of this is due to our ancestors being enslaved and being forced to breed with not only each other, but with the slave masters. And sometimes and then there are those who made the choice to have interracial relationship with not only just Caucasian people. There are those who had relationship with Indians. And you had Indians that enslaved Black people. Yes. So for all my indigenous people out there, while you bragging, you might want to look up the information about how the Native Americans had owned African slaves. Yeah. So that's something to think about. And I want to show y'all something else real quick. This is dealing with African American ethnic heritage. All right. Again, this coming from blackdemographics.com. Ooh. Okay, so here it is. African American ethnic heritage. Where in Africa are African Americans from? Let's read on it. Check it out. Hold on. The vast majority, listen, the vast majority of Africans in bondage were imported to North America from 7 general regions of Africa. The list below includes the region name, estimate percentage of Africans from each region, and location description based on current day national borders. All right. As you can see, African American origins, right? Forced migration patterns. Let me pull it up so y'all can see this. From 1620 to 1810, from Africa to the United States. All right. From 1820 to 1860, from U.S. coast to deep south. Okay. And it says, according to 6 DNA sources, the average African American, approximately 21% European. The sexual exploitation of Black female slaves is cited as a large contributing factor. And you see that shit right all up in here. Where they come from? Most of us have Scotland, either Irish or some type of British background. All right, so let's read. Let's look over here. Now it says right here. Let's look at South Carolina. All right, here's the map. So the map shows you from what part of Africa that our ancestors came from. Senegambia, Gold Coast, right? Benin, what's it? Biafra, Angola, Windward Coast. All these regions right here, and they were brought over to this area. So you will see South Carolina make up 15% of the Gold Coast, right? 18% of the Windward Coast, 20% of Senegambia, 45% of Congo and Angola and Louisiana, 35% Congo, 5% Gold Coast, 20% Senegambia, 10% of Windward Coast, 20% of Benin. You see right here in Virginia, 36% of Biafra, which is all of this over here is connected to Nigeria today, or what is known today as Nigeria. All right, 36%, 5% of Benin, 17% what? Congo, 16% Gold Coast, 15% Senegambia, 12% Windward Coast. All right, so this is the information right here. And it says from 1820 to 1816, black slaves started being sold in large numbers from coastal areas to the south central cotton slave holding states. All right. You see all this. Okay. So I'm not gonna read too much into details. Because I don't want to take up anybody's time, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty late over here, so I'm gonna make it real fast and quick. As you can see, Senegambia, 15%. Now let's see, what is Senegambia? Okay, present day between Senegal and Gambia. Senegambia include that stretch of coast encompassing the present day nations of Senegal and Gambia. An estimate of 61,500 or 15% of total Africans that came to the United States. Captives from as far away as the upper and middle Niger Valley, present day Niger and Mali, were transported from this coast. Senegambia represent approximately 15% of all African captives transported to North America, including 17 to 19% of the captives sold in South Carolina / Georgia, 15% that were sold in Virginia, and possibly 65% of those sold in Louisiana. And where it says pre-colonial kingdoms of Senegambia included Ghana Empire, Mali Empire, Songhai Empire, Mazi Kingdom, Wolof Empire, and you see you got the Empire of Great Fulo, Kingdom of Saloum. All right, and here are the ethnic group. If you have ancestors that came from Senegambia, more than likely they are Mende, Maliki, Mandingo, right? More than likely they are Fulani and Saniki. Okay, this is the group they will come from more than likely if you had ancestors come from Senegambia. Now, the Windward Coast, 16%. Let's look that up real quick. Windward Coast includes the territory from the was it Casa Menace to Assini, or what is now Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Ivory Coast. Windward coasts represent approximately 16%, or 65,600 of all African captives transported to North America, including 16% who went to South Carolina/Georgia, and 12% of the captives sent to Virginia. And once again, what you would have these ethnic groups would be Mandingo, Susu, Yaluka, Timne, again Fulani. All right, and look at the Gold Coast, 13%. What is the Gold Coast? Adjoining Sierra Leone is the Gold Coast, occupying what is essentially contemporary Ghana. African captives from the Gold Coast represent approximately 13%, or 53,000 of all African captives sold in North America, including 13% of captives sold in South Carolina, 16% of captives sold in Virginia. And these are the former kingdoms: Asante Empire, Kong Empire, Kingdom of Dogobon. And here are the ethnic groups. What is the ethnic group of the Gold Coast? The Akan group, which is the Ashanti, the Akilim, Agona, Kawahu, Waza, Fante, right? Bono. Do you see? Do you see the name of the groups right here? This is the groups that you more than likely come from if you had ancestors that came from the Gold Coast, right? Okay, this is Benin, 5%. Further east of the fourth region of Bight of Benin is now the nations of Togo, Benin, and southwestern Nigeria. African captives from the Bight of Benin represent approximately 5% of 20,500 of all African captives transported to North America, including 30% of the captives sold in Louisiana, but not in significant numbers to other American ports. There we go. And you see Nok culture, Benin Empire, Bonoman, Oyo Empire, Kingdom of Dahomey. And what are they mostly consist of? Yoruba, Iwe, Fon. So if you had ancestors coming from this area, you're more than likely going to have the Yoruba in you. Okay. Biafra or Barafa. The Bight of Barafa. The Bight of Barafa is comprised of contemporary southeastern Nigeria, Cameroon, and Gabon. African captives from the Bight of Barafa represent approximately 24%, or 98,400 of all African captives sold in North America, including 37% to 40% of Africans sold in Virginia, 9% sold in Louisiana, and 2% sold in South Carolina/Georgia. And here are the tribes. Okay. You can see the Kingdom of Inri, Kanam Empire, Bornu Empire. Ethnic groups in Bight of Biafra included. The Bight of Biafra contains a number of ethnic groups, including the Igbo, right? The Ibibo, the Igala, right? Ijo, Ogoni, Oro, right? And what it says here, around 75% of the captives from the Biafra came from the Igbo, right? Ibibo area. Famous bronze of Benin and Ife, created no later than the 10th century CE, are also associated with Igbo and Yukuru or Yukuru. So, and here it is: Congo, Angola, where it says 106,600 or 26% of African captives brought to the North America, United States. African captives from the West Central Africa, from present-day Congo, Zaire, and Angola, and Namibia, represent approximately 40% of Africans sold in South Carolina, 16 to 17% sold in Virginia, and anywhere from 5% to 36% sold in Louisiana. Also, more than 90% of those who came from West Central Africa to Louisiana were from Congo, whereas less than 10% were from Angola. Do y'all see? And here it is: the Kingo of Congo, Ndongo, Laango, Matamba. And what are the ethnic groups? The Congo, Bakongo, Kikongo, right? Sundi, Benwinde, Kamba, Dando. So if you had ancestors come from those areas, more than likely this is what you have. And Mozambique, Madagascar, 2%. What happened? Referred to the southernmost region of the Swahili coast on the Indian coast in southeastern Africa. Captives from this region may have constituted only 2% of all African captives transported to North America, including about 4% of Africans sold in Virginia. So, the point that I'm making is, as you can see, we have a mixture of all these ethnic groups that I just mentioned, right? And our ancestors came from various parts of these regions, brought to the Americas, and particularly in the South, right, where they made up a large numbers of population. And so, with that being the case, this is more than likely, this is what you're going to have. If you have a high concentration of African bloodline, this is what you're going to have more for the most part. Okay? So, this goes back to prove my DNA results that I showed you guys. That information alone. And so, if you ever take the DNA test, and you see that you have a high population of African lineage, just know these are the regions that your ancestor descended from. Okay? And because we are mixed with other ethnic groups, right? We're talking about as far as African ethnic groups. Why? Because our ancestors, they was mixing in with each other. Okay? See, the point is, when they came here to America, right? They didn't have the time to focus on what tribe they came from. They didn't have the time to focus on whether they was Igbo, Fulani, Wolof, or whatever. They were bunched up together. They was too busy trying to fight for their freedom. They intermingle with one another. All they recognize is, hey, we Africans, and we come from the same continent. So the point that I want to make to you guys, right, is, you know what? Do not be ashamed of your history, okay? Do not be ashamed of your lineage. That's what you are. You can't help your bloodline. You can't help the fact that this is your ancestors and how they came about. You can't help the fact that you got some European in you. All right? We all don't like that. We all don't like the fact that we got European in our bloods. But guess what? We do. It is what it is. But we got a high concentration of African lineage that should not be denied. And it's sad that when people start to try to create a narrative to replace those images, you got people that try to say they are indigenous. You got people that try to say that they are Hebrews, such as Nick Cannon, and don't realize that you come from a beautiful people who had such a struggle, but they became somebody and became successful and were able to break away from slavery, were able to get through the civil rights. So the point that I'm trying to get at is always double check your source of information, okay? Don't just listen to anybody. Always go back and verify information. Always go back and double check the sources. Always study your history. This is why I give it up to the brothers from NBK, and I give it up to the brothers in Team Osiris, and to those in the Amara Squad and the Mosley Warrior Clan for teaching information about lineage, heritage, bloodline, etc. I give it up to you guys. Take advantage of that opportunity to study your history so you won't be misinformed. Because see, a lot of the people that's teaching a lot of pseudoism, they getting away with it. They are truly getting away with that. Other than that, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and log off this video. I'm glad that you all was able to listen. Thank you for watching. For those of you that are watching. Other than that, may peace and power elevation be to all of you. Please be safe out here in these streets. And remember, always gain that knowledge. Gain that wisdom. All right? I'm going to continue on with Black history. This is why I do Black history all the time, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to know. There's a lot of things that we need to discover. There is a lot of things that we need to discover about ourselves, our lineage, our struggles, all of that. So I will talk to you guys in the morning. Well, it's already morning time where I'm at. But, you know, I will talk to you guys later on in the afternoon. So please, if you are watching from YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right. It's Tiffany L. French. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell and share this channel. If you're watching from Facebook, go ahead and share the video. But make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. All right. And make sure you like the YouTube channel. It's Tiffany L. French. All right. Other than that, I'm logging off of here. May peace and power elevation be to all of you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Take it easy. Deuces. All right.